Gavin, Peter, Tyler, once again, really excited for our upcoming guest here. We welcome on Kyle Briscoe. He is the head baseball coach, also an assistant football coach over there at Downers Grove North, a program that has seen all kinds of talent come through in the last couple years. Hopefully, there's no slowing down, at least for, I know me and Peter. They're like home games when we get to go to Downers Grove North and watch you guys play, so it's always a benefit. But no, welcome on, Coach. Thanks for taking some time. I know you're in the middle of your school day right
Yep.
now.
No, like I said, thank you guys for having me on. And like you guys said, I get to see Peter and Drew. You guys, I see you probably at least a handful of times throughout the year. Tyler and Gavin, I know you guys work in different regions. But yeah, I'm excited to be on and talk some football and baseball with you guys today.
Awesome, Coach. Well, I'm going to open up the floor to just our staff here. Gavin, Peter, Tyler, they're on every episode. They're a huge part of what we do here in Illinois and just seeing players and covering the state as best as we can. And guys, if there's one question you want to get going to right off the rip, Peter, I don't know if there's something that you have.
I actually really liked maybe your opener about like what's going on in Downers Grove. I think that's a good place to start with just like
And can I actually add some color to that?
yeah,
Okay,
yes,
so we
please.
were doing some research. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm sitting here, doing extensive research all over the Thanksgiving holiday, but one thing I did see was your first couple of years, like tough. I will just say
Yeah,
that. I'm not going to say
you're being
records or
kind, Drew, by
anything.
saying tough. But
Hey, hey, you're not recruiting who's on your team here. So I totally get that. You're at a public high school. It's whoever in your district. There's probably ebbs and flows, like there is at every community program. But what the heck has changed? Because after COVID, I want to say 22, 23, 24, you've had some 30-win seasons, and I'm actually going to get it right here. So in 22, you went 16 and 13. In 2023, you went 32 and 5, and then we're talking 2024, you went 30 and 8. So, you quickly turned yourself into a program that is drawing a lot of attention.
yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, my first few years here, definitely getting our feet wet, definitely took our lumps. Just trying to, kind of reestablish a program that had been, a high quality program, and just obviously, getting the players. I mean, to stay in Downers. I mean, like we occasionally get the Catholic schools take a player here. But really just kind of establishing and getting quality players in from Downers Grove. One thing about Downers Grove is baseball has always been big in younger levels, between long shots, hounds, youth baseball, and stuff like that. I mean, we have a ton of travel programs in our area and kind of just getting those kids and realizing what they can do in terms of high school and beyond. And I think guys on these past few teams like the Wall Cows, like the Janikies, like Warwicks. We've had, Ian Check, Tony Canopius. I mean, we've had even going back to David Marshall, Cam Demos, who are at St. Bonaventure right now. We've had some guys roll through here, and we've been able to kind of stack those players together at least for a year or two. And like you said, I mean, and it had some competitive years for us the past few years.
So, with you saying that, and Gavin, it looks like you might have a question queued up. And go ahead if it's
Yeah.
going off of what he said there.
Yeah, so with that, Coach, obviously, like we had mentioned, you've had in 23 and 24 two really impressive seasons. What have you guys done, I guess, and what have you done to kind of create a culture within your program to have that success and to try and continue that success?
I mean, so obviously, like success is great, but it's not the end all be all. You know what I mean? Like obviously, our goal is to always win a state championship. But just kind of like creating those relationships with guys. We've been really pushing that. I mean, we've also really been like trying to also like the mental aspect. We have brought on a mental coach that actually still works with Walkow still to this day. I mean, just trying to separate ourselves from the rest of the pack. Like, what's everyone else doing that put us ahead? And that's what we're trying to do. I mean, really like that mental side of it. It's something we've been pushing the past, probably 2 or 3 years, and it's obviously shown dividends. Looking at the big picture with the success we've had. That's kind of one thing that we've tried to really do. I mean, because let's be honest, everyone's got a lifting program. Everyone's got their off season workouts. It's kind of like, what can we do to separate, the baseball aspect, but also the mental aspect, because, oh, heck, you guys all know, I mean, baseball is just so much mental. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys see it now just with all your numbers and stuff like that. I mean, there's guys out there that can run, that can throw. It's about how do you put it down between the lines when you're on the lineup card. I mean, I'm sure you guys are seeing the data. You guys see it more than me. I mean, you're seeing numbers probably increase, faster 60 times. Velo, you're like, man, we got more 90-mile-an-hour arms than we've ever had. But now it's about, hey, do you have it between the ears to get it locked in? I mean, to unleash that talent. So.
And you couldn't be more spot on. The talent and the numbers continue to just improve. The specified training that these kids are going through at a younger and younger age, the talent's never been better. I think you could say differently about the baseball IQ and the
I would
some
agree.
things
I would
like
agree
that.
100%. I think most of the coaches out there would say the same thing in terms of the baseball acumen has just been. Sometimes you're wondering, like, where have you guys been for the past 10 years?
Yeah, yeah, and it brings me to talking about DGN, what you guys have done in the last few years. Like, you go from having a tough couple of years to then being really good, but at the same time, you are dealing with a dynamic that not many high school coaches have to deal with, and that's having a guy like George Wolkow. And it's a premium prospect. And the things that I think get lost on parents, outsiders, is what that actually brings on you. And I'd be curious, MLB scouts, how much are they talking to you about a George Wolkow? But then also, I just know, like, with them emailing you with, hey, when's Wolkow going to take BP? Hey, we see him off an arm instead of a machine? Hey, is it going to be outside or inside today? Hey, what's the weather look like? How hard was that on you? And maybe hard's not the right way because you want to help out George any way you can, but there's so many different dynamics that I would love for you to shed some light on that.
Yeah, so there's obviously a ton of behind the scenes stuff. That obviously having, like you said, a dynamic player like Walkow that I wasn't aware of that much. We've had scouts obviously come to games and stuff like that, but just the amount of, like I said at times, like the need for almost an assistant during the day. If I think I went to the principal, she'd probably laugh at me, but just having like an assistant throughout the day just to kind of help with all the paperwork and stuff like that. Like you said, any type of practice, are we hitting inside, outside, the live BP that they want to see, they're not necessarily want to see machine. So like the live BP, when we doing that, the pregame BP, so you got these guys flying in, coach, is the game going to happen? We don't have turf at Downers Grove North. We're the old school setup. And so like they'd want to see pregame BP on like end of March Saturday morning. It's like, guys, I'm worried about my field unthawing right now, let alone getting in some BP. And but honestly, to George's credit, we kind of came up with a system. We were able to kind of mass email out on scouts and stuff like that. So that cut down on a number of emails because, for a while there, we were getting every MLB team asking, hey, when are you guys hitting? Is the game still on? Like once we got into game schedule, hey, coach, is the game on? So not only do you have my team and communicating to them, but I'm also worried about communicating to all the scouts to make sure, like you said, like you kind of take it upon yourself. Like you obviously want your player to reach the highest level. Like that's any goal for any coach. You want your player to reach their sky's the limit. They want to reach their limits, so you try to do everything you possibly can. But like you said, there's a lot of other works involved in, making sure, hey, scouts are here. Hey, the regional scouts been to 10 of your games. Now we're going to fly in, a GM or assistant GM or something like that because we really like this guy. Can you verify you're going to play next, Thursday? And it's like, yeah, again, guys, we're in the state of Illinois here.
Have you ever been to Chicago before?
Correct.
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys haven't. They're like, man, this weather's not, especially if you get them from the south or something like that. These guys are, bundled up and buying coats at Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff like that, coming to our games at Downers Grove.
Absolutely. Well, and like the whole other piece of it is, oh, you want to hit before a game on March 30th? Like you're talking about your field thawing up, but like we're not going to have any baseballs left after
Correct.
this game. We're going to ruin every single baseball trying to get you BP. And I'm going to steal some questions here. I know Tyler, Peter, Gavin, they all want to get in and ask you some stuff. And if you ever need to go, just let us
Yeah.
know. But you had the Wolf Cow, but you've also had really good players alongside him. And a guy that we had come to really like was Jude Warwick. But I'll be the first to say I didn't think Jude Warwick was getting drafted.
No.
Um, okay, so was that a surprise to you? Was his whole because that's I think a whole another thing is like Wolkow's entire process is very different from a Jude
Correct.
Warwick's, and they both end up in Pro Bowl. So like, what the heck was Jude's whole process like? How different was
Yeah.
it? Did you have any talks? And yeah,
So
I
obviously,
just think it's a really cool dynamic you had to
so
deal with
obviously,
there.
Walkout came in as signed in 8th grade to South Carolina, Coach Kingston. So I'm getting this kid on campus, and he's already, a Gamecock, which was a little different dynamic. And Jude, the only reason why I knew Jude as an incoming freshman is because I had coached his brother Jack on one of the first teams I was an assistant varsity coach with when I helped out Coach Chad Isaacson. So I'm like, oh, great, we got a little Warwick, and then as the season went on, I'm like, oh, this kid's having a pretty good freshman year. But obviously, again, different dynamic. Walkow was a specimen coming in as a freshman. He was already 6'6", 195, 200 pounds as a 14-year-old, versus Warwick, who was, maybe 5'5", 5'6". Smash cut to sophomore year. He's tearing it up at the sophomore level. We're halfway through the season, and I pull him up for a Hinsdale Central series to play second base for us. And he comes in the Hinsdale Central series against them, and I think he goes like 4 for 4, batting, and then he just made contact, and that's when they had Luke Adams and stuff like that. That's when Hinsdale Central was humming in terms of they had 2 or 3 other guys.
They had some arms too, like Lucas Monosantos, good arm and multiple pitches for strikes. They had others.
Yeah, I
wish
mean
it
they
was
were
coming
they were
from.
good, and Warwick came in as a sophomore, and this first at bat went 4 for 4. So then right there we're kind of like, man, all right, we got a player here, but he's always been able to run, and one thing him and Walcott do have in common is they are like Jude's a freak athlete himself. Like he can do some acrobatic stuff. I mean, he can do a backflip and all that stuff. I mean, so that's something that they both, in terms of athleticism, I mean, had above average, if not freakishly athleticism built in, their DNA. But like you had said, Drew, the process was a little bit different. I mean, obviously he committed to Michigan State his junior year, Coach Boss over there. And really we weren't thinking much about MLB at all, and really coming to his senior year, I can remember having, we have meetings, begin with kind of set expectations and stuff like that. And there wasn't much talk about MLB, and then I think it's Matt Zamuta's Detroit scout that just hounded him here. He was a guy, he'd be texting me, again, like you said, like the nonstop, he'd be texting me at 6:30 on a Saturday morning, hey, coach, I'm at school, let me know when you guys are getting here for pregame. Be like, I have a 3-year-old kid at home. The game's not till 10 o'clock. I'm going to be at school in about 45 minutes. Luckily I do live close, but, he's
Trying to stay married
yeah,
here.
he's waiting there, waiting to see his pregame swings at school. And it was more and more like, hey, this guy's coming around. Some other teams started kicking the tires a little bit. And I think it was probably like in April, May. I remember we had a conversation with him, and I had a conversation with Mom at Legion after a game. And, she's like, they think there's a possibility, there's some interest in the MLB thing. And then toward the end of the year, Jude took the bull by the horns last year and really carried us in the playoffs. I mean, we had him on the mound, closing out games, obviously hitting the walk-off in the sectional championship and stuff like that. And that's when he got an invite, to try the pre-draft workout at Comerica Park. And it was kind of like, man, there's going to be a legit option here, and still, we're still like in May. And so he was starting to ponder that option of Michigan State versus possible MLB, and fast forward a month and a half or something like that, and into the draft, and he heard his got the phone call, and like I said, the Detroit Tigers were on him right away, and they were the guys that probably watched him the most. I think Matt saw something in him early, just with terms of he's always had a solid glove. In terms of being able to in range and stuff like that, plus runner. Your guys showcase and stuff like that. And so he got the call, and next thing you know, he's a Detroit Tiger. So,
Well, that is an awesome story. Couldn't be happier for Jude. We were in the same boat, kind of just really liked the progression he was on, the athlete he was. And he was a guy for me, saw him in showcase for the first time, but then saw him in a game and plays up in a game. The swing's good in a showcase. He's going to put up the measurables. Like, he's going to run, but the way he played shortstop is just different in a game. The way he played on the move, the instincts, and then the bat-to-ball skills at the plate always didn't amaze me, but I was always impressed. And the way he could shoot the ball to all fields. And then listening to you talk, bringing up Luke Adams, that's Michigan State losing two guys. They had Luke Adams committed as well. Yeah. And then now Jude Warwick, two guys they lost to the draft. And Luke wasn't necessarily one that they thought they'd lose either, but he's doing well in pro ball.
Yeah, he's like in the Brewers organization. I think I know that the Brewers just drafted a stud third baseman, but I think he's still looking to move up, and he's high in the organization in terms of what they're looking to do in the future.
I don't know all the different publications and whatnot, but I did see he was a top 10 prospect in the organization for one of them. But Tyler, Peter, Gavin, I've done a ton of talking here. I want to open up the floor to you guys. What do you guys have for Coach?
Yeah, Coach, thanks for hopping on. Kind of sticking on this Wolkow and Warwick topic. Did it do anything for the rest of the guys to see, and like Janicki too? I know he didn't get drafted this year, but the guys have guys at that caliber and that level. Did that do anything for them, like to see those guys firsthand, see the Wolkows and the Warwicks get drafted? Does that could you tell was that doing anything for them mentally? Like, did it motivate them?
It's definitely inspired growth. I mean, and I've seen it firsthand. I mean, like I said, I coach football in the fall. We started workouts the first week of October, and we had over 50 kids, at our workouts and stuff like that. I mean, which for us is pretty big. Usually it's 20, 25 kids working out off season and stuff like that. And we opened the gym, like I said, the first week in October, and like I said, there's been over 50 kids, and it's been constant throughout. So this is that winning culture. Obviously, seeing these guys go to the next level and kind of show them the path. Like everyone says they want to do it. Obviously, we know the numbers out there. It's tough to do, but just to have back-to-back years with kids getting drafted, relatively high. It's kind of inspired these guys to kind of continue to work and put more effort in than they have already been doing. So. I think it's also inspired the community a little bit. I mean, I think the community kind of gets behind these guys, especially with Walkow, Landon with the White Sox. I unfortunately am a White Sox fan, so I've been, hurt in the past year or so. But, guys like him, watching him, I think it's going to be awesome for the community and, just the local baseball fans to hopefully, see this out and see a couple guys work through the minors and hopefully make it one day.
Going off Jimmy Janicki, and I used to say Janicki, and now I'm in my own head on is it Janicki or Janicki? It's Janicki, correct?
What?
It's Janicki.
It's Janicki. I mean, I am in class. I mean,
it's Janicki.
Maybe I screwed it up. Maybe I.
No, I'm going Janicki.
It's Janicki.
Well, either way, we've long been a huge fan of him, and it also kind of correlates to you being the football coach because he was a big football player.
Correct.
And from what I know about you, you were a three-sport guy when you were a high school athlete at DGN. Yep. Long-standing DGN family. Your dad went through DGN as well, right. So tons of pride over there, which you love to see. You go back to, to your alma mater, and now you're, hopefully helping out that next generation of student athletes or just students in general. So really cool there that I love to see, and I love seeing you being a three-sport athlete. But that was kind of back when I was graduating high school. I was in '04 out of Naperville
Yep.
North, and with you being a football coach, how hard is it in today's day and age? Is it still doable? I know Jimmy, did it and got hurt, but then came back. How many baseball players have crossover? I just kind of want to go down
Yeah.
that path, the multi-sport
I
path.
mean, in terms of the multi-sport athlete, obviously a school like Downers Grove North, we're kind of in between. We're not quite with the big dogs, and we're not the smallest of smalls. We're fairly big with 2,200 kids, but we want our kids, having playing multiple sports, like you said. I see the value in it, and just in terms of the mentality, especially with football. And there's something to be said about basically banging against one another for 13, 14 weeks out of the year. It takes some fortitude to do that. I mean, it's not easy, and I think, like, in terms of having those multi-sport guys, especially a football baseball combo, you see that with just the ability to overcome that resiliency, to overcome, hey, I'm 0 for 3 at the plate right now and I got to go up again, you know what I mean? And like, am I going to shut down, or am I going to get out there and try to battle any way I can to get on base for this team? And I think that's one thing with football that definitely translates over. Drew, you're asking about the viability of it. It's definitely getting harder and harder, especially in the summertime. That's where I see it the most. That's where you almost feel bad for the kids just because they're getting pulled in multiple different directions, and me, like, I never want to be the person I'm not looking to burn someone out, like, I get it. Like, you're going to have your main sport and you're going to have other ones that you enjoy playing, so we all got to make decisions with that. I mean, even with Walkout, we had basketball with him. He was part of the state. They made it down the Final Four for the.
I remember that now that you said that. Yeah.
So I mean, we didn't have Walkout for 2 preseasons in a row. I mean, he was out for the first couple of weeks. Not that he wasn't hitting or throwing, but he wasn't part of any of the team aspect, team portions of the first couple of weeks, which is a lot of install and stuff like that. But I mean, those are things that you live with. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting all the exposure, all the I mean, he's playing in front of down in Illinois in terms of just that battle mentality that you can't teach that. You know what I mean? So, like I said, the summers right now are where the multi-sport athlete is getting pulled the hardest. Because even with basketball now, AAU's now trickled into April. You know what I mean? So you're getting kids that are having to choose between playing AAU basketball and also playing baseball. Just because all the AAU tournaments now, obviously over the weekend, stuff like that, and it causes kids a lot of times they're forcing the hand just because they want a solidified roster, just like we all do. We don't want moving pieces. Like, I understand that, but that's the problem that we're running into a little bit, is during that summertime. During the season, for the most part, I think that at least what Downers Grove North we've done is kind of just worked. Joe Horeni, the football coach here, Jim Thomas, the basketball coach. I mean, we talk daily. Just because we share a number of athletes, and just that collaboration, I think, helps us, try to maximize our players' efforts and making sure that we're helping each other out, not pulling from one another, and creating an atmosphere that's not conducive to building an athlete. And that's what we're trying to do at Downers Grove North, is produce these athletes that we've had. I mean, we've had a number of athletes the past 3 or 4 years, D1, where in years past we haven't had those athletes come through, or maybe they just haven't decided to play a sport here. But
Well,
yeah,
it's refreshing to hear that you strive to allow, athletes to do that. At least that's what it sounds like, because it's from where we sit, it's never been harder to be a multi-sport guy, and the cohesion within the school, but then also with the summer programs, with the, hey, how hard is your summer coach going to be on you if you miss something? It's a total cohesive effort that, depending on the school, I think has created a ton of dynamics for these players.
Yes.
And we talk about it all the time, whether you're from a smaller school in Illinois or you're just a high level athlete that wants to play multiple sports, at the high school you're at. Like, we're going to value that player at a higher level if all else is the
Correct.
same. Because I think you touched on one of the most important things, and that's just the competing aspect of it, and the hard nosed, toughness, and being able to handle failure, which in our game is one of the toughest sports you're going to deal with, one of the most humbling sports you're going to deal with, and it only gets harder as you climb the
Yeah.
ladder. You
I mean,
know,
you
so
guys
if
touched upon it. I mean, obviously Janicki was conference player of the year for us 2 years in a row. I think this year LT had Tucker King play football, which
yeah,
I love seeing him out there. I mean, here's a guy that signed with Cincinnati, just going out there competing, helping LT run the table in the regular season. Just being I mean, he's a dude on the mound, and he's out there, smashing his head in for 12 weeks out of the year.
yep.
Johnny Nelson, Oak Park, he's another guy I think that's got a high ceiling and stuff like that. He was their QB. I mean, it's just awesome. It's kind of like, it's funny when you see these guys each week, and you see them like you're quietly pulling for them a little bit. I mean, just because you like to see them be successful. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. So
Represent your conference
correct.
too. Yeah, absolutely. Tyler, Gavin, I kind of want to turn this into next spring. And Coach, I don't know how much time you have
I got
left
like
here.
15 minutes.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, I'll just give you the floor. Preview next spring's roster for us. What are you looking forward to in 2025 with your squad?
So obviously next year, we're coming off the 30-win season, as Drew said in the intro. We have 15 returners coming back from that squad. Obviously missing 2 or 3 big pieces with Janicki, Warwick. Llewellyn was another big arm, our ace last year at Minnesota State right now. But hopefully with those 15 returners, we got a different makeup. I mean, we got like 7 guys, I believe, committed to going the junior college route. So I mean, we got talent. I think we got some guys that have something to prove, and maybe played behind some guys the past few years. So obviously, I've been kind of thinking and talking with my coaches in terms of, we might not be the world's sexiest team like we have been the past few years in terms of being able to drive the ball out of the park and having, draft picks here and there. But I think we're going to be a really fundamentally sound team, and a team that's hungry, and looking to prove that, it hasn't been a fluke the past couple of years. So I'm excited about these guys. Like I said, I think out of those 15 returners, we got 14 seniors, so we'll be a senior-led team. And like I said, like overall, there's a lot of guys out there that are working hard right now. And maybe a little bit of chip on their shoulder that they haven't gotten that D1 call yet or follow up or anything like that from those coaches, and they're looking to have a big senior year for us.
No, that's awesome. I mean, older teams win in high school baseball, so that's got to be encouraging that you got 14 of those returners are seniors. I want to talk a little bit about your pitching staff now for 2025. Give the listener, just a few guys we should have our eyes on this spring.
So we're gonna have Braylon Tomlinson was a lefty for us. Kind of came on last year. Just a guy that the ball moves. Like he's been a great success story. Transferred to us from Oklahoma as a sophomore, and so he was kind of unknown to us. Came out sophomore year, made the JV team, and last year worked his way into pitching some really big innings and really big games for us. He got some experience, late in the playoffs. So he's one arm we're looking at. Zach Zaroli is another one. He got injured early in the season, but was having some success early on. He got some early innings for us. We went go down to Tennessee. He pitched down there and pitched a few other starts for us before he got injured with his knee. But he's on schedule making his comeback. I mean, he's a guy, another lefty for us that can spin a breaking ball. So we're excited about him. Those are 2 of our guys that we're excited about in that logged innings last year.
Coach Tomlinson, he threw against Lincoln Way West, didn't he? When you guys matched up, yeah, he's a good little arm. He's nice. He's good.
Competed his butt off against those guys. I mean, so he kept us in the game. Unfortunately, we were outnumbered that game with only 1 hit, I believe. And I think that came in the last inning. But
2 outs.
Yeah, But he kept it close. I think he gave up 3 or 4 runs. Gave us
Yeah.
opportunity. So no, we're excited about those guys, and like I said, hopefully using the off season and early season to kind of figure out where guys go, after that. So
I have a follow up off of that because Peter mentioned you played Lincoln Way West last year. I saw you against Lincoln Way
yep.
West over at their place. Kind of an awkward, interesting game, but it seems like you guys have beefed up or just always beef up your non-con. Is that on purpose? Do you have certain relationships that hey, you like playing these guys? Like, what's your mindset behind that?
My mindset is I want to play the best. I mean, like that's day in, day out. I want to play the best. And so like, yeah, last year we picked up Joliet Catholic. We played them down there. We've been playing Lincoln Way West for the past few years. We picked them up. A couple years ago, we picked up Naz. Like I'm always looking. I'm always a firm believer of I want to see the best. That way, come playoff time, we're battle tested. Obviously, our conference schedule is tough to begin with. I mean, just with the LTs of the world, Oak Parks, Yorks. I mean, we face good competition during the week, but anytime I can pick up that game, I'm willing to do it. I'm not like obviously, we've won some games the past few years, but necessarily the wins and loss record, I'm not stressing over that. We talk about we stress like the journey, being ready. Hey, when it's playoff time, we want to be playing our best ball. So seeing those teams like I thought we played a tough one against Joliet Catholic last year. We had an opportunity last inning or so. I think we actually got called out trying to steal third in the last inning. We had runners on, and didn't go our way. But I think that was a game that kind of set us up, and that was like the last. We had about 2 or 3 weeks before this season was going to end, and I think we end up that previous week we had played Lincoln Way, and then we played Joliet Catholic down there, and I think those games just kind of set us on an upward trend, even though they both didn't go our way. Heck, we say baseball is like life, and what some of your best lessons are in losses. So I'm like I said, I'm a firm believer in picking up those games. Even though we're maybe going to throw our numbers 5 or 6 starter at them, I'm going to take my lineup and I have faith in my 9 guys and see what we can do. So.
It's refreshing to hear, and it was a similar approach when we talked to Tim Funkhauser down at Edwardsville that he has, because he's not afraid to play anybody. He loves the competition.
He's got some boys coming back as we ran into him in the Elite Eight, but yeah, Tim's a great guy. Just obviously talking with him during that game and what he's kind of done for high school baseball, but yeah, Tim's got some boys coming back, and he'll be. I'll be looking for Edwardsville in your preseason top 25, probably in the top 10.
They'll be in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They'll be in there somewhere. There's a lot of talent that tends to roll through that place, and he does it right. And that's what's so just been so good with doing this and talking to high school coaches that are in it for the right reason, and hearing that you're getting a mental coach. You're looking for ways to improve your program, and like that's what it's all about. Not just there's some sports or some coaches or some schools where maybe it's just, hey, I want to collect a stipend. I want it, and you're in it. You were an athlete, and I love it, and you've had talent, and you're trying to get the most out of them, and that to me is what this is all about. And I don't know if the other guys have any other questions. The only thing I wanted to kind of pick your brain on is there one program or one player that's not with you guys that has stood out to you in the past? Not even talent, like just like, man, I freaking love this kid. I love the way they play. Or maybe it is talent, or maybe it's everything. Just if anything came to the top of your mind, I think it actually helps us do our job better too. Like, okay, yeah.
Trying to think right now. I always feel like York's players do a great job. Dave Kalal over there is just him and I he's a guy that I enjoy coaching against every single time. I mean, not only are we going after each other, but just the laughs that we have in between innings and stuff like that. I mean, the subtle jokes and stuff like that. I mean, he's doing that, and also we're trying to beat each other. But I think he year in year out is a team that I'm always like, they do things the right way. I know the ball's going to be down the zone. I know they're going to field it. And it's just like one of those things where no matter what the record is, you know it's going to be a close game because those are two things that he stresses every single day. I mean, so
Love it.
just a lot of those players over there. Like I said, Kevin Dede over at LT. Like I said, we talked about Tucker King earlier. We were in warm-ups. One of my assistant coaches works on Friday nights, and Tucker came over and shook his hand and just said, hi, coach, how you doing? Good to see you. Can't wait to see you in the spring. Like things like that. Like my assistant coach came over and told me, he's like, that's just something awesome to hear. You know what I mean? Like that's bigger than the game. I mean, that's a person doing it the right way. That's why Cincinnati's getting a steal with him in terms of what they're getting.
Yeah. Maybe a shout out to his parents
Correct.
too,
I mean,
just raising them the right
Yep.
way, and we need to see more and more of that, and kids that are handling their business and being mature on the
Yep.
field and just going about life and the way they play the game the right
Which-
way. And that's
which is bigger, like you're talking about what parents want. I mean, at the end of the day, like, what, not everyone's going to get a scholarship. It's about what lessons are you going to learn? I mean, that's what we try to stress. Like, life lessons are learned through baseball, through sports. And I think we probably all sitting here would agree that some of our most instrumental learning and development happened on the playing field. I think that's why we're all involved in this great sport. So
great stuff. I don't have anything else. Gavin, Tyler, Peter, thank
No,
you guys.
thank you. I don't want to make you late for class.
no, you guys
I
are
really
good.
appreciate it, though.
Don't worry about it.
Thank you, Coach. And we will be following your program, and it's been a pleasure to see kind of what you guys have done there the last few years. And not just to see the George Wilkows of the world, getting there and seeing a Brady Shalemoser and a Russell Oros and a, Ian Check. And I could go on and on here, but just a lot of guys that you mentioned, 7, I think you said, that are going to play JUCO ball that have ceilings that are higher than that JUCO that they're going to. They're using that as a vehicle, as a springboard to get to that next step afterwards. And your depth has always been really impressive as well. And can't wait to see kind of what these future years hold and who's the next guy coming out of there. But congrats on the recent success.
Thank you very
and
much.
Keep it going. And thanks for taking the time. And it's been a great conversation. So I'll be rooting for you.
Drew, Tyler, Peter, Gavin, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And like I said in the intro, all the stuff you guys do for high school baseball and baseball in general, hats off to you guys. So